next to wake us up from our carb coma is David Howorth. He heads up the global workplace experience at BP and is known in the industry as the one that gets stuff done, apparently. That's what he said.
Right, good afternoon, everybody. I'll probably shout a bit there. I hope you had some nice food, feel refreshed, ready to go. And I think what I wanted to do was just talk about our journey at BP. I'm not going to preach on how experience should be done for everybody else and everywhere it is. I'm just going to talk about what our journey and where we've gone. So you have to forgive me, age has got the better of me. I now need glasses to look down and up. So if I can't see it, it's because you're all blurry, but I'll get there. Don't worry. Right, that's me. Okay, I'm going to start with this slide, and I'm sure many of you have come across this before. But I actually think it encapsulates, for me personally, it encapsulates what experience is all about. And I've been around the industry a while, a few years now, you may have seen. And this has been a constant throughout kind of my journey and where I've worked with and who I've worked with, the most important bit. And what's great is, as we talk about that, and I see other people kind of as they move on, they also take on this approach as well. So, Maya Angelou, I hope I pronounced that right, an inspiration in many ways. And I just thought I'd share that really, just as a starting point so you can reflect where you come from. My background was hospitality originally, through hotels, then fell into the corporate world. I've been on both supplier side, client side, vendor. I've done it all. And I think what that does do is kind of give an experience of a more holistic view. But one constant is how you make people feel, the impact that has. And I think, that's an overarching impression and feeling that each and every one of us can give. We don't need any technology to do that. We have this special power to be emotional to people, to make them laugh, cry, to read them whether they're sad, they're angry, they're happy, and we all can do it all naturally. So I think that's where we go. So that's what it is. This is what it's not. And often, I do like a cupcake, I have to admit that, But I do think that when experience started to roll in offices and they started to talk about it, it was all about these, and this. And I think we can, and I'll just leave this one on because this kind of does something. I'm going to pick up on the cleaning front. How do you keep that clean? I've got no idea. So if you ever see a room like that and you want to dive in there, I'd just, probably hang back a little bit personally. But a lot of people and a lot of organizations, and it doesn't have to just be the big multinationals, think, let's chuck some beanbags in that corner, let's set a groovy chair over there or a treadmill desk over there, one in isolation, and we've got experience done. Clearly that isn't the case. The other thing that I come across, and I was chatting to someone at lunch and they said, God, what's changed in the last 10, 15 years? And actually, I'm going to be honest with you, unfortunately, not a lot. And also, what I have found is that we've got a lot of what I call the naysayers, the doubters in our industry still, that still think that experience is just some fluffy stuff that you do, you smile and greet people. And actually, they don't recognize it as a profession. And there was many years ago, a colleague of mine, we set up a business in front of house, and the first thing we wanted to do was professionalize the industry and turn it from being, I'm a receptionist, into something that has got a career. And this is the kind of the proud, I'm going to call it the mum and dad moment in work, where we've seen lots of people who have worked in that company, and there's a couple here, who have gone on and had amazing careers, and they've done that because we professionalized what they were doing. And unfortunately, I still come across organisations who don't professionalise that, and I think that's a real shame. And the earlier conversation about qualifications, I think that is something we really need to move forward and actually give it a bit of kudos. Because why wouldn't we want to professionalise industry when it delivers performance? We know, sorry, this is only my glasses, apologies. We know that employees feeling valued, motivated, are more productive, more efficient. And way back, I worked for a company who supported GSK. And I'll never forget this. It was a moment of, it's about leadership, but it was about the experience that this particular gentleman created as an organisation as a whole. So he was the chief exec of GSK, JP Garnier, Frenchman, kind of my first man crush, I've got to admit, you know, kind of when I saw that, because he was just suave, he was sophisticated, but he knew how to take a crowd with him, win people around, and he just delivered quite a tough set of results in a town hall environment. And somebody turned around from the audience, asked a question, and they said, JP, if there's one thing that you ask of us, what is it? And he paused and just looked directly in the eyes of the person. Held out his hand, I don't know why, but he held out his hand and he just said, if you could just do one thing, if you could just fall in love with your company a little bit more. Now the hackles on my back, the hair on my back went up, and everyone was like, oh. But he connected, but that was the experience he created within. He got people on the journey with him, and I think that's a real lesson that I've taken on about connection. So this is as much about leadership that it is about experience. And it's really important that we bring the two together. A positive culture experience helps to retain talent. We've talked about talent. We know it costs about between 20 and 30% to employ somebody of the total employment costs. Kind of makes no sense to keep losing people. You know, obviously it's good for our recruitment agency friends, but I think it's a business cost that we probably need to kind of focus on. And then another bit about customer satisfaction. So that just feels obvious to me, and it doesn't matter who the customer is. You know, it could be a workplace function like I'm in, where your internal customers, it's your colleagues. That's, you know, we've got to treat them like they are paying guests, that they are, because they make a decision of whether, you know, as a function, we exist. And I keep going back to a gentleman called Jan Carlson, who was an ex-CEO of Scandinavian Airlines, and he wrote, if you're not serving the customer, your job is to be serving someone who is. And I think that's really impactful. And as workplace teams, and it doesn't matter what role you do in workplace, if you do that and support what the business is doing, you are contributing. The trick is telling our workplace people that connection so they understand that bit. And I think that's where it gets lost. And if we do that, it also lifts who they are, where they are in the organisation, and the power that they feel and what brings them to work. So I think it's part of that professionalisation. Innovation and creativity, obviously, it's an obvious one from bring people together. You get them in environments, good ideas come out, new revenue streams may appear. And then brand reputation and loyalties. So I think that is something that if companies prioritise well-being, create a supportive work environment, you will get absolute loyalty from your people. They will return it, and they will then help build and deliver something in a positive environment. And I think I'm going to finish this slide with a study that was done by Gallup in 2022, and it says employee-engaged companies outperform the bottom quartile by 10% on positive customer ratings, 21% on productivity, and 22% on profitability. So if anyone says, oh yeah, experience is all a bit fluffy, well, that's a load of bollocks. It's not. It is pure, absolute commercial decisions we be taking. And that goes back to we should be paying our people the right wage to deliver those services because they are adding to the bottom of the line. the bottom line of the organisation. Right, lecture over. Okay. So I'm going to kind of go on to BP. Now, this nice little easy slide that everyone can see. Now, I don't intend you to kind of read that, but what this does was, this is about 3 years old now, this slide, and it was done just before I joined BP. And it kind of charted, and I keep referring back to it personally because I find it useful. Because when you're trying to look forward, you know, I also like to look back to see where we've come from, how we're doing, what worked, what didn't work. And this kind of, I'm not saying the answer's in the slide, but it just helps me kind of engage and engage my brain in areas. Obviously, this went slightly wrong because we kind of went back to work, then we came back out and all that sort of stuff. But what it does show is what a journey that we've all been on and how significant the change has been. It also speeded up the workplace technology. You know, and I'm sure many of you have heard many times, traders couldn't trade at home. Oh, come the pandemic, all the traders traded at home. And the world didn't fall over from a financial point of view. Some people coped well and suited hybrid working, and we hear more and more of that now. But actually, some people don't. And some people are still struggling with that now, as much as other people are struggling to get back in. And I think it's just that awareness that we didn't have before as an industry. And when we talk about experience, we need to think about all of those different elements. Culture, communities broke down, lack of human interaction. Interesting, some organisations reported huge profits in that first year. And then now they've lost a lot of that, and it's come back, and they're realizing that was a very short-term gain, and they need to get people back in to do that. And thankfully, employees, colleagues have a higher expectation of their employer now, and will not accept kind of average anymore. And I think that's really, really good, because it's good to push us as an organization. So the journey at BP, first of all, started off with, well, I was brought in to look at how we were delivering workplace services from a CX perspective. So I just pulled together, I'd like to say they're all my own words, they're not. I shamelessly stole some of those from other people. And that was just the definition that we use, and it just helps. And it's purposely not tried to make it too complicated, because I use this on the strategy on a page that we talk to our team members, doesn't matter what role they have. So it is something really important that they feel they can connect to. Oh. I don't know why they're out of the things. Obviously a font change. Anyway, we'll work with that. Okay. What you can see there is our different models of how we work as a business. And I purposely put colleague experience in the middle. When I got the official one, it was just around the edge, but actually that's the heart of everything we do. And, but what it does do as a function, we were starting off as a business which was run quite independently. Now BP, just to give some size, we operate from offices, workplace environments, 115 locations. We support about 23,000 people. And about 7 million square feet. So as a global function that we created, we needed to create centres of excellence that could support that to try and get some consistency across the board. And I'm not talking, they're not all massive complexes or fancy new offices. There's some real kind of regional basic offices that we are working with and building up. So, don't have this expectation that it's Google everywhere, because it's not, I can promise you. And as an organisation and as a structure, we kind of work around that. So, with CX, it's all great talking about colleague experience, but actually, how do you bring it to life? And that was one of the challenges that I needed to articulate. Just turning up and saying I've done it before didn't work, unfortunately. I thought it might, but no. I had to start articulating what we were going to do and create the plan. So we used 3 enablers, the physical, the colleague, and the digital, keeping it absolutely simple. And what that does do is allow us to create a program that does specific actions that fall into these buckets, circles. And people can attach to that and identify that. And I am talking people on the kind of the really important roles like reception, hosts, cleaning teams, the people actually who engage with our stakeholders day in, day out. If they can feel connected, that's the thing. Now, we're on a journey. I'm not saying that everyone walks in there and they can roll off our strategy by any means. They can't. But what we are doing is working with our partners in helping it introduce through their training, through their development, and what that looks like. So let's just kind of pull out a few. So looking at the kind of the physical experience. Now, some people might think, well, this isn't CX. This is real estate or design. But actually, we get involved from a CX perspective in all the discussions. Even at the, if you look at the project delivery and project management, we will make sure we're at different stage gates, there is a CX sign-off. And that's really critical because we have regional leads who own the budget. I don't own the budget, but as a CX function, we have got to guide them and support them and help them understand how that delivery can be. So, you know, the other day I was on an office that was in Asia Pac, and they'd valued engineered out, and I love that term, a front of house team member. Well, not an individual, but the role itself of a new office, small office we were opening. What that highlighted to me was, one, we had a security concern because there was a bit of access that people could get into our meeting rooms and that they could put listening equipment in. 2, there was no welcome. 3, it was a sales office, so you would have thought that would be quite an important part of it. And actually, all of those points were just taken out because they got lost in a big, wider project. There was no intention to make that happen. But what it did do as a specialist, myself and my team, we can have that lens and we can just stop and go, hold on, have we thought about that? And it could be as simple as that, but it has a lasting impression. So, you know, don't think that we've got to change the world with a big strategy. It can be the little stuff that makes the real difference. From design, we put in revised design guidelines. So we kind of sat with the design teams, and when they're bringing out their books of how to design our offices, we talked about them of what they were looking at it from an experience point of view, what they were trying to achieve. And this is and I don't know if it's down to this, but clearly, but occupancy levels in our organisation has gone through the roof. They've gone really well. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you would expect they're busy. Mondays, we are now really getting, particularly at the large campuses, we're starting where there are facilities where people can engage and come together. We're really starting to see that happen. Fridays, I don't think they'll ever come, but you know, prior to the pandemic, Fridays were something that people didn't come to the office anyway. So I think that's it. That's an impact. But again, that's how we try and influence it. We also, what I forgot to say at the very beginning is that workplace sits in people and culture. Actually, that was one of the deciding factors of me joining BP, was that as a function, it sat within the people and culture team. And what we are is an enabler for people and culture. So when we launched our new values, behaviours, which we put under the Who We Are banner, and they became beliefs, workplace was absolutely instrumental in getting that across the business. And we were at all the levels in how we were going to deploy that, where it would go, what it would look like, and how it was a two-way conversation. So we felt a real valuable part of changing the culture of our business. So that's another power that workplace can really do, particularly experience. So we look at the colleague one. So, and actually it was just touched upon at the first presentation this morning about kind of hosts and ambassadors, day makers, so it's a model that, you know, I've used previously in other organisations. We're trying to I've got 2 minutes. Damn. Actually, Linda blew that completely out of the window. So experience services. So we're introducing a host program, working with our partners, delivery partners to do this. Again, this isn't just rename a title. This is changing the hearts and minds, getting into the culture of what they want to achieve, the value that they're going to bring, and that will have an impact. And I first saw this at quite a few organizations, but I went to a Google hub, I think it was for startups, where you went in there. And it was actually how they took this moment of where they would introduce you, understand what your business was, and then kind of go, oh, okay. And then later on, they'd come back and go, you should go and talk to Barbara over there because she's doing this. And that approach, if we can do that in an in-house way, it really helps to kind of cross-fertilize those ideas and really demonstrates the value that Workplace is bringing to an organization, not just setting up the AV. Not that that's not important, but but there's more to it than that, and that's a really important part, because if the meeting doesn't go right, well, we all know that. Sorry, I'm going to go back. DEI. This has been a real. I'm not proud to admit this, but it was a real change for me, because I suddenly came to an organisation where they really focused on DEI, and I usually say it opened my eyes, but obviously that's not very DEI. But I use that because what it did do was connect me through to understand the needs for all. It was a voice that was lost. And what I found is, from Workplace, us, by working closely with our employee resource groups, or BRGs as we call them, we have really lifted their profile. Their messaging got lost, and we have brought that up. And we created dedicated community spaces that people could go to that was branded, so people knew it was there. There was information put in, so if someone was on a personal journey, whatever that may be, they could go and look without feeling that they were walking into a room and everyone would go, oh, they've gone into the DEI room. So that was it. And this runs through into our technology piece. So we created an inclusive technology for all. I'm going to be honest with you, we've done a lot of benchmarking with Accenture. They're way ahead of this. They have done some fantastic work. And what we've done is try to kind of follow them on that. And what they're doing, and I'm going to be beat any minute now. So I think what we have done is we've brought in the assistive technology. We've got it that nobody has to pay for it. From their individual budget, it comes central. So no one has to go to their line manager and go sign off this piece of assistive technology. They can just order it themselves and get it done, and it's funded. And that was a big challenge for a large organization which manages budgets tightly, as one would expect. We've created rooms where people can try things out, and that awareness. We've also learned so much about what Microsoft has already got in the technology in Teams. If you don't know, go and look at all the assistive technology that you've got just in your basic Teams, and it is phenomenal. Again, changed my life. As someone who's dyslexic, to actually have that, it just solves so many problems for me that for 30 years of my life, I wasn't really aware. Well, probably, sorry, I'm lying. 45 years of my life, I'm not having the first 6. But and then simplification. So 3 takeaways. This is my mum's. This is the beach near my mum's house. Just thought I'd share that with you. Just a nice picture. Yeah, I know. Well, she didn't live there when I was a kid, unfortunately. She moved when we all left. So CX is an essential element of running any size of business. Do not underestimate that. It requires CX professionals to plan and deliver across a program. Don't think by just employing, we're going to put a host in, or just a CX, we're going to give someone a CX title, that will make a difference. It doesn't. You have to have the strategy and the plans that sit behind that, and the mindset and the training. And it's a lot more than cupcakes, beanbags, and slides. Thank you very much.